Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday Talk series, Wisdom in Action, brought to you by the Manhattan Meditation Center and Peace Village Retreat Center. We are so glad that you are here, and whether it's in person, on YouTube, in Facebook, or on Zoom, thank you for joining us. So today we have a topic, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into the human consciousness. And Rona Schweitz is going to take us through just understanding a little bit better. But before we get to that, we do have some workshops and topics that are coming up if you are interested. So our workshop, kind of a little bit of a follow-up to the current topic. It's a workshop on mind care, finish overthinking and calm down quickly. So that might be a very good supplement to this talk today. So welcome, everybody, and we'll turn it over to Rhoda.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. The sound is okay?
Hello,
Yes.
Rona.
It's good.
Hello, everyone. Hello. No, it's okay. Then I can see there better.
Rona, how are you doing?
Very good. Okay, let's start with a moment of silence. And in this silence, just create this awareness. That there are two separate entities, the body and the experiencer, the inner being who is invisible. And just try and grasp this body and the soul, the vehicle and the driver. And we use the image of light to indicate this invisible being of consciousness. Tiny star operating this vehicle. Operating from behind the eyes, center of the forehead. A being of light, timeless, free, pure light. Thank you. Today's topic on health, the illness of the soul. this whole area of health and illness, even though there is so much activity going on in the medical world and so much exploration in medical science, and there are so many hospitals and so many healthcare workers and doctors and nurses and medical facilities and ambulances and medication, it still remains a bit of a mystery, the whole area of health and illness. And even though there are so many people attending to illness, still more people are getting ill and sick. And it makes us wonder, so much money and so much intelligence is pumped into the medical world, into the healthcare systems. So much attention globally, locally, nationally, and our most intelligent scientists working in that field. But we haven't solved really the riddle. Yes, we have booked successes, but overall, humanity has not become healthier than, say, 100 years ago or so. Maybe certain areas we have conquered, but others have popped up. Other new illnesses have come. And so when that is going on, if we take as if a step back and look at the whole thing from a distance, in a neutral way, then we may think something in our exploration and something in our thinking and something in our approach may be missing. Are we overlooking something? Are we not seeing something? And one of the things that has happened is that we think in a compartmentalized way. No, so one thing that might happen is that we do not approach the body and health or illness with a holistic view, viewing the overall thing. Now, if you have a plant and one leaf is starting to wilt or starting to create funny characteristics, you don't say the leaf is sick, you say the plant is sick. And you do not just treat the leaf, you treat the whole plant. And so if we look at the body, that may also be going on. We have become so super specialistic that we just look at certain parts of the body. You just look at the heart, or you just look at the stomach or the lungs, and we have lost this ability to see the bigger picture because of all this specialization and super specializations within the medical world. And it is so complex and so detailed that someone approaching it with a general overview, it is not possible anymore. But there is another aspect to this holistic view and this holistic perspective. And maybe we should not just treat the body, but treat the human being. The human being, there are two parts, two words in that: human and being. Human is the body, and the being is the being of consciousness, the invisible experiencer, the soul. And maybe if there is illness at some level physically, it is also an indication that the interaction between the being and the body need to be explored and need to be, what is the word? Tested and diagnosed. And this is an area where I personally feel we are not paying much attention to generally at a personal level, at the individual level, but definitely not as a, what is it, as a healthcare system, as a medical world. And maybe there is something wrong at that higher level also. And that is why, even though if there is a physical illness and we are able to treat it, there is no guarantee that the body will stay healthy rest of the life. Something else may pop up and something else may pop up. And this is what you sometimes hear from people, is that they are at the doctor all the time. Maybe it is that we are just reshuffling the problem. There is one health issue and you get treatment, you get medication, you get some diagnose, and then it gets treated, it gets cured, but something else pops up. Because if the root cause or root factors are not addressed, then something else will come up. And maybe all that we are doing is just treating symptoms, but not the root. And I'm going to move over to the board to make some sketches to help understand this area a bit deeper. You can see the board?
Yes. Yes, we can see.
The ones who are here at the center, they can see easily. So we have said that there is these two words that we are using. Human being, two words to indicate who we are, what we are. But many of us are not ever, have not really rationalized these words. What does this mean? What does these two words really mean? And to simplify it, in Raj Yoga, the understanding is, the spiritual knowledge, the understanding is the human is the body. It is visible, no? The board?
Yes.
The body. But there is this being who is giving life to this body. This being who is the life force. And we use the image of light to indicate that the being of consciousness, the being who is creating thoughts, who is creating feelings, the being who is having a certain perspective, who is having awareness, consciousness. And consciousness together with the body makes a human being. It's also called the life force. And at the moment of conception, not a moment of conception, when there is quickening in the womb of the mother, that is when the soul comes in the body. And then there is life. The mother says, oh, movement. Life is there now in the womb. And at the moment of death, it is the separation from the being of consciousness and the body. And so, because we have forgotten about this inner being, we have forgotten who we truly are. We have completely identified with this. When we use the word I, we generally use it for this. We say, I am a man, or I am a woman. We say, I am American or Russian, or I am Christian or Muslim, or I am black, or I am white, or I am brown. We identify ourselves according to the characteristics of the body and the part that we play out, not the position or the possessions or the people around us. And we use the word I only for this. We use the word I for what is temporary. We use the word I for that what changes all the time. Now, when a baby is born, you have a small body like this, more or less. And you say, this is John or whatever. After 5 years, the body is like this. There's no cell in that body after 5 years that is the same as when it was the baby body. The matter of the body, everything has changed. All the cells have completely changed between birth and 5 years or 10 years old. There is no cell that is the same, but we still say I. So that I cannot be the body. Matter has changed so many times. Who is this I? Some people do what? Plastic surgery, cut away parts of the body, reform the body. It looks completely different, but it's the same person. Who is that person? That is the inner being, the one who is thinking, the one who is experiencing, the one who is having certain intentions and ideals. That is the real I. And this real I, the inner being, the spiritual being, uses this body as a vehicle. And then we say I for the vehicle. Is that accurate? At least we should reflect on this, whether this is useful to have that limited perspective of self. Now, when you get in the car, you don't think that you are the car. Now, some people, they drive so many hours, they don't hardly get out of the car. But even if you are in the car for a whole week, you do not become the car ever. Car remains car and driver remains driver. So similar here also. So gets into the body at some stage in the mother's womb, uses the vehicle to experience and to experiment and do all kinds of things. But at some stage, the driver leaves the body again. And the one who has life, the one who has awareness, the one who has the power to think and the power to experience and the power to feel, that is not the body. That is the soul, the being. Because a corpse doesn't say, oh, I want chocolate chip ice cream. A corpse doesn't say, I don't like this person. A corpse doesn't say, I love you, I love you. A corpse doesn't have the power to experience. Corpse is matter, just like this chair. It is the being. Now, if the being uses the vehicle not according to the manual, what will happen with the body? So if you have a car, maybe some of you have a car. If you take the car for a swim in the East River, what will happen? It will stop working, no? Because the car is not meant to swim. There is a manual how to use the car. And if you use the car according to the manual, everything will be all right. The car will do what you want it to do. It will drive you where you want to go. But if you take a bottle of ketchup and put it in the gasoline tank, it will stop working because that is not in the manual. So if you use the car for what it is not meant, it will break down. Something problem will happen. Now, is the problem the car? Who is the problem? The drivers. I'm sharing these things in a very simple way for us to grasp these concepts. But something similar happens in this case also. Our body breaks down. Some problem is there with the body. And we can fix it, but then some other thing comes. And some things we can't fix. Isn't it logical to check whether the driver should change his attitude? Or whether the driver should change his managing of the body. But we have created a culture that ignores the being. We have created a society that ignores the existence of the soul. We have created an individual belief system that doesn't include the soul. And so we are just identifying as a body with the body. And if there is a problem with the body, we just try to fix it within that limited perspective. And so we will always get, at the most, limited results. And first of all, we should become a bit more clear. What is the manual for this body? What is it made for? What is it not made for? In what environment does the body thrive? And in what environment does the body not thrive? And we are quite clear about that at a physical level. No, we know the body doesn't thrive well in extreme cold or extreme hot or with extreme physical impact. We know. Or if you, chemicals are not good. We know a physical environment for the body. But what about an emotional environment? What about a mental environment? Does the body thrive well when there are constantly emotions of anger and actions based on anger? Will the body thrive well in an environment of fear, where there is constant the emotional turmoil of fear and anxiety and insecurity and worry? Those are also not healthy environments for this body. It will create a metabolic state that doesn't promote health and strength of the body. And if we look, so also when we look at the physical environment or physical position, this body is meant to be in a certain position. You can walk, you can stand, you can walk, you can sit, you can lie down. And you can bend sideways, you can bend a little bit here and there. But this body thrives if it is in a certain position. But if you put it in an abnormal position, like if you take your foot and you try to put it in your neck, what will happen? Anyone here will reach? It will work? You can manage to put your foot in your neck? Probably not. And before it reaches, you will have pain. Why is that pain? Because that is not the natural position of the body. It's not the natural position of the vehicle. And if you try and do something unnatural with anything, but also with the body, there will be pain. And pain is illnesses are just more complicated forms of pain. And so illness is a sign that at a deeper level, some positioning is not right. And there's physical positioning, but there's also mental positioning. There's emotional positioning. So if we position ourselves in this world as givers, if we position ourselves in this world as bestowers, as with an attitude of cooperation, if we position ourselves in this world with an attitude of gratitude, that may be a healthy inner position, and that will reflect or contribute to health at a physical level. But if we position ourselves in this life as needy, I want. These are favorite words, no, of people today. I want. Do you know another favorite word? I need. Very good. I need. This is language that comes from a deeper state of emptiness or sense of lacking. It comes from a beggar mindset. And maybe that beggar mindset, that beggar positioning, is an unhealthy positioning. And we will then use the body with all these emotions of lacking and missing and needing and wanting and desiring and demanding and expecting. And it creates its own hormonal state, physiological state that is not contributing and conducive to health, to a healthy body. Now, a beggar mindset is a mindset where we believe that we all the time need things that we don't have. So the underlying chant is, I have nothing. I am no one. I don't deserve. I'm not worthy. I'm exaggerating it, but just to get the flavor. This mindset of inner emptiness. And that makes us dependent. And it makes us feel hopeless and helpless and victim. Now you can imagine what the emotions and the thoughts are in that mindset, as opposed to a mindset where there is the feeling of fullness, where there is the mindset of I am a spiritual being, innately divine. I'm a spiritual being, innately made of peace, made of love, made of bliss, innocent and free. I need nothing to exist. Spiritual being, the inner being, timeless, immortal, a traveler through time and space, temporarily the driver of this body, but I don't even need this body to exist. Even if this body is not there, I, the soul, continue to exist and continue with my journey. That is a different mindset. Then there will be feelings of fullness. Then there will be feelings of game. No? I have this body to play this game of life, to use the different skills, to have different experience. This life becomes like an adventure instead of a struggle in a war zone. Because mindset is different. Now, it is not very difficult to make the next step, is that with a certain mindset, there is a much more healthy inner world, and therefore the body is more healthy too. And when that inner world is of that lacking and needing and victim and feelings of unworthiness and feelings of beggar, that creates a hormonal, a physiological state that doesn't promote health. Now, if we simplify the way we understand cancer, Susan, want to ask something? Go ahead.
I've mentioned something like this before at other meetings, but again, if you could give a practical thing, because I agree with everything that you've said, but the one real challenge that I find that I think is difficult, that's because it's not within us, is you can have whatever mindset you choose, but in recent years, it's not the pandemic, but there's just so much stress in everyday ordinary situations that didn't exist before, and constantly it has become impossible to avoid like unreasonable people in just daily things. You know what I mean? I think that stress is really making people sick.
We have to go and live in a cave on a mountain somewhere.
I've thought of it, it would be peaceful.
But the problem then is we still have to deal with our own minds.
Yeah.
I have a friend who many years ago, she had this is in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, and she had a high position in the what is it, like Con Edison here, but then that in Holland, she had a high position there. She had her own house. This is the capital of the country, in the center of the capital. successful woman. One day she sold her house, she quit her job, and she went traveling all around the world. And she ended up in the Himalaya, high up with a guide. And it was cold, freezing cold. And she even sent the guide away. She said, I want to be alone and only silence. Nobody around. And this was like 6 months after in her travels. And she said that she had a deep insight at that moment. She can send everybody away. She can run away from everything. She can quit everything. But she's still with herself 24/7. She can't run away from her own mind. So then she thought, I better get back to Amsterdam and sort out this mind of mine. But yes, of course, we, most of us, if not all of us, are living quite busy lives. We interact with so many people. There are so many situations, so many things to think about, to deal with. All of that is there. And the aim of a spiritual life is not so much that we try to be away from all of that, or that we ignore it, or hide it, or change it. Because that is the most stressful thing, to try and change other people, or to try and change to change your mother-in-law. It's impossible. But what the aim is, to try to change my inner positioning, that it doesn't affect me in a negative way. And of course, that is new to our thinking, and it might not be so easy to grasp in every time, but it is the only real structural way. And I'll try and give a few examples in this.
You can do it to a mother-in-law. I did it. Yes, you have to do it gently. And you have to know what you're trying to do, because she was a strong woman. And what she said went. And I used to say, give me your opinion before I buy it. And she would. And she knew what I wanted. And she said, oh, that's lovely. You could have it. You should buy it. And then she'd buy it for me. There's a way to do what you just said. Even to a mother, to somebody who's not, I don't know, she was a kind lady and a nice lady, and I knew her for many years. She got better when she got older. When she was younger, she was too feisty. But whatever. You didn't choose your my mother used to say, you look at how they treat their mother before you marry the man. That's what she used to tell us. We were 3 girls. And she says, watch how he treats his mother. And that's how he's going to treat you. So thank you for that. Thank you for your question.
I don't know why I gave that example, because it is not my personal experience. I hear these stories from many others. So.
Yes, but it was my personal experience. The first time I was afraid of her.
But I
met her.
People that I have to deal with regularly, even at present, but also in the past. We all have people in our surroundings that push our buttons. But that is because we have buttons to push. Go ahead, Susan, but
Oh, no, if I can ask, yes, that's a great example, and I understand it, but I was actually talking about something different, if I could give an example.
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, I live in kind of an area where you didn't see, I don't want to sound, I don't want to offend anybody or whatever, but it's not expected, whatever. I was going, driving, and a man from my building, a man was insisting on going the wrong way in a one-way street, and the man in my building is screaming at him, "You have to turn around." And this just kept escalating and escalating, and I'm just watching it, and it went on, and I'm seeing more things like that. Like the mother-in-law is difficult and whatever, but there is a way, if you're creative, that you can deal with it. I'm more afraid of the way I used to get through life, to be open, is I had very specific goals, and I minded my own business from things like, I would not argue with somebody to be right, like a driver or anything like that. But I think it's from things people are telling me, it's getting harder to avoid things like that. Like it just happens.
Yeah. No, we can't avoid in certain situations. But we don't, if there is an inner mental positioning where we can be fearless, we don't need to avoid. We don't need to provoke a fight either. We don't need to argue. But if there is an inner state of fearlessness, we can approach any situation, and then you can act or respond appropriately if need be. Or you be in silence, or you walk away, or you act, you call the police or whatever, or you stop it, but not coming from a space of fear, not coming from a space of insecurity. And I think in that way, you can also respond better. There is more chance that you respond appropriately. And this is where I wanted to get at. A mind that is filled with ego if this is our mind. And the way we understand ego in the Brahma Kumaris is a false identity that we have created, consciously or subconsciously. And we use the image of a little I to say ego. So for example, I am the doctor. I have created an ego based on a position. I am not the doctor. I wasn't born doctor. But in my mind, I completely identify with that profession, with that position. And because I have created an ego based on that, I am now insecure. Because what if I lose my position? And I will definitely am vulnerable. This ego wants all the time people praising me as a doctor. This ego wants all the time people see me as a doctor. So I just come into a gathering, and this ego wants that everybody knows that I am a doctor. This ego doesn't feel comfortable if nobody knows that I'm doctor. This ego makes me vulnerable. This ego makes me insecure in certain situations. There may be another ego that I am the bigger ego, that I am the wife of the doctor. That may be another big ego inside. This ego is very insecure because maybe doctor has to go and retire, or doctor might lose his job, or doctor might love somebody else. This ego, and even if doctor doesn't love anybody else, but just talks a little bit too much with other colleagues, this ego is jealous. This ego is insecure. There may be ego based on possessions, that I am rich or that I don't have anything. We may identify with so many things that are perishable. And one big area of identification, one big area of ego is with the body. We have created an identity based on something perishable. While spiritual knowledge says you are an imperishable being, a spiritual being. So if this is our identity, what we call soul consciousness, then there is an awareness of immortality, of eternity. If I identify with the body and I think my existence depends on the body, I've created an ego based on body and bodily position, bodily possession, then I'm always insecure. In soul consciousness, pure soul consciousness, zero ego, there is no fear, there's no insecurity. And the drama of human life is just that. It is a drama of human life. We play the game. And there are a variety of scenes. Some scenes are of party. Some scenes are of travel. Some scenes are of work. Some scenes are of family. Some scenes are of conflict. Some scenes are of upheaval. But the soul is just a visitor. The soul is observing. The soul is playing the game, but the soul is beyond harm. Whatever, even if the body goes, I continue to exist. Pure soul consciousness. And maybe that is the healthy state. A mind where there is the soul identity, the only identity. Body is the vehicle. I am a spiritual being. I come from another dimension. I come from the dimension beyond. We all are spiritual beings, family of souls. We belong to the Supreme Soul. And that security, that safety, that feeling of protectedness, that feeling of imperishable, that make us, when we play the game, we can accept any scene that comes. Now, when you play a game, any game, they play baseball. It's not that it is without danger. It is not that it is without danger, but they are not scared. They enjoy because they're playing the game. Some area has become a bit degraded, and that spirit of game is a bit lost. But you just enjoy playing the game. And when the game is finished, you just go home. Now, this positioning of the silent observer. The soul is a silent observer of this game of human life. The soul is a traveler through the variety of scenes in this human world game. This position, this mental position, allows for peace, allows for being secure, allows for a deeper sense of joy, allows for a deeper sense of, playfulness. I remember one time at work, there was one of the colleagues. He wasn't a colleague, actually, he was the boss. Sometimes he would lose his temper and he would become violent in his words, but sometimes even he would throw things around. And this occasionally would happen when we were having a meeting. And so many of us were a bit scared. And that gave him more power over us. And one day I decided I'm not going to be subjected to this anymore. What is this? And I said, I don't practice meditation for nothing. So let me go into that meeting in a meditative state of mind. And in my mind, I just had it very clear, all our souls, and we are just playing out this scene. Different personalities, different parts. But behind there are souls, and they're all my brothers. And sure enough, that day he got furious, mad, and he even took off his shoe and he started throwing his shoes. But I was amused. I was amused. I wasn't scared. And in my mind, I was seeing smoke coming out of his ears. You know, when they show cartoons, and they people, and they curse, they show some ping pong, whatever it is. So in my mind, I was looking at him and I was seeing this whole thing. And he taking off his shoe. This is hilarious. He's the boss. What is this? So, but I went in with a different mindset. And that same scene that before could create feelings of tenseness within me, at least tense and a bit stressed. It was hilarious, the whole scene. And I had to kind of control myself to not laugh. And what was funny, he saw that he did not have the same effect as he used to have on me. So he quickly catch himself. I think he himself realized how ridiculous the behavior was. But whether he did or not did, my experience was different. And that was not because he was different or the situation was different. My inner positioning was different. And I did not go into that meeting with this job consciousness and he is the boss and I can't say anything or I can't provoke anything because I'm scared to lose my job or I'm scared to be told off. No, I'm a soul on a journey. These are different scenes. Let me just observe the scene. Job or no job, I'll still be there. Now, these are deeper spiritual practices, but it was definitely worth it because deeper inside I was calm. I wasn't angry at him. I was just amused by the whole scene. And this is what we can experiment with, different mental positionings. When we talk about this guest consciousness, or this traveler consciousness, or this observer consciousness, the detached observer, the immortal soul, in this awareness, approach any scene of drama. And insecurity diminishes. Insecurity can even disappear. And this consciousness of need nothing. the whole of this human experience is an extra experience. It is a gift. And maybe that is the healthy positioning. Not this mind full of ego. This mind is selfish. Ego all the time wants. I need, I want, I demand, I desire, I expect. You do what I. Selfish. Extremely selfish. All the time. Doesn't truly care about others. Now, when you look at the simplified etymology, not etymology, when you look at the simplified if you would have to explain to a child what is cancer, one way to say is cancer cells are cells who have become selfish. Cancer cells, what they do, they don't care about other cells. They don't care about the body. They just care about themselves. So they use all the resources and the nutrients to create cancer cells like itself. So the cancer grows. And the coding, or how do you say it, the functioning of the cell has changed. Now, in a healthy body, all cells cooperate with each other. Even an organ doesn't exist for itself. An organ exists to contribute to the bigger functioning of the body. It contributes to that. And so the cells also, they don't exist for themselves. They exist to make the whole body function. And if there is danger, cells can even sacrifice themselves. Certain organs, they will sacrifice themselves, for example, to keep the brain functioning, to keep the heart functioning. If there is less blood or the extreme cold, then other organs, other parts of the body will send the blood to the brain, will send the blood to the lungs and the heart, so that the whole organism can survive. So actually, this whole nature in the sense of the body is very selfless and very cooperative. Now, when we look at human beings, are they selfless? At this moment, can we cooperate with each other and with everyone for the greater well-being of everyone? Can we sacrifice ourselves for the benefit of others? No, we don't have that attitude. We have the ability, but we don't have that attitude. We don't even see that as normal anymore. And maybe nature is telling us that is healthy, to be like that. So that inner positioning of cooperating for the greater good, that inner attitude of family is a healthy attitude. This mind, because ego cannot be selfless, forget it. Ego cannot cooperate. It will only cooperate if it gets what it wants. But if it doesn't get what it wants, forget it. So this is an unhealthy state of consciousness. And if there are many egos in the mind, this is like cancer of the soul. And every ego just wants what it wants. They're fighting with each other even also within our own mind.
Sister
And
Rhonda,
if this level is this ill health, it will manifest at the level of the body also.
we have two questions out here. One is from Jessica. Jessica, if you wanted to unmute, and then Darshana has her hand up as well.
I had a question about specifically the ego, because I work in an industry where Um, my ego, well, having a really strong ego kind of gets you far, if you know what I mean. And not gonna lie, I went to a networking event, and since I've joined Brahma Kumaris, I've sort of seen the changes in how I am, to the point where I question when I'm having a conversation and people are eager to know about what I do. And I just wanted to get your sense of how you would approach that, because like your identity, especially at a networking event, is so important for you to know who you are. But to enter this state of peace, it's kind of like removing that ego mindset. And I have identified. You're so right when you say that it is insecurity, because I have identified it, and I now am starting to feel the insecurity when I talk about like what I do and things like that. So I was just hoping to get your opinion on that, on how to best find peace during those interactions.
Yeah. We can play the part of doctor, but we don't have to identify. I'm playing the part of a doctor, and I will play it according to the rules and the best possible. But deeper inside, this is me. Because the real me is not doctor. There was a time when I was no doctor, and I was still there. And there will be a time that our doctor will not be there, but I will still be there. So to identify with it, that is where the problem is. Not the job itself, or having a certain position, or having to act in a certain way because that position demands. But getting into the arrogance and the ego and the identification of it, that is where the insecurity comes. And that is where the peacelessness comes. Sometimes you meet the brilliant people in whatever area of life or occupation. Brilliant, successful, but they're so modest and they're humble. And they inside don't feel I am this or I am that. That is a healthy state. It is not coming from that inner emptiness. If we're in that soul aware, that soul awake state, that soul consciousness, then there is inner fullness. And the position of doctor is extra. It is nice, it is there, is not nice, is also okay. Life will continue anyway. I will continue anyway. Then I'm not desperately attached or holding on to this job. And then there is not the possibility to get into some insecurity. I know there are questions, and this is a fascinating topic, and we can go on all night, but it's already past 7:30. So one more question and then we'll stop. But this whole month we are having this theme of health on the Thursdays. So we will expand a bit more on it in the other Thursdays. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a similar question like Jessica has, because it has been 1 week that whatever happened at work, and it still is lingering in my mind, even though, but sometimes I've been hearing about this ego all the time, but isn't it something that you need to move forward in your life? So is that the healthy and unhealthy ego?
Yeah, no, I don't think. I think any form of ego, the way the Brahma Kumaris defines it, no, different people may define it differently, but how we define ego is when we identify with something perishable, when we identify something that we are not deeply inside. And there is not really any healthy ego if it is based on a limited idea of self. Something that is changing, something that can end. If I identify with that, if I depend on that, I will always be insecure.
Okay.
And job is a big thing, no? Where we
That's right.
identify.
But don't we have to have some kind of a pride
Yeah, the
to
real
move?
you is beautiful. The real you is peaceful. The real you is a spiritual being. The real you has higher and divine potential.
Mm.
So when we come back to that awareness,
Okay, thank you.
okay? Okay, let's close with some moment of silence. Thank you.